This meeting is being recorded.
All right, she let us know. Okay, well, welcome today to our webinar. I'm Jennifer Maynord, and I am the founder and director of Artio Services. And we have some friends on the call today. We have Helen Opper, who is our art advisor. And then we have David Chitwood and Daniel Walcher, who are our real estate friends and a dynamic duo. But I'm going to just introduce Artio's mission really quickly so you all have some context to why we're doing this today and why we're here. So Artio is a creative agency, and we connect arts and businesses to support the creative economy, to improve overall wellness, and to reach diverse audiences. So when we talk about the creative economy, it really pertains to what we're talking about today, because we want to invite the real estate, you all, as whether you're real estate agents or getting into real estate, or maybe you're artists that want to participate and partner with real estate agents. This all starts to fuel our creative economy. And I want to give a little bit of context to where we are with the creative economy. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development defines this creative economy as a sum of all parts of creative industries, including trade, labor, and production. This agency has tracked the trade in creative goods and services for close to 20 years and consistently found that the growth rate of the creative economy exports outpaces that of other industries. So our creative economy is growing really, really quickly, and Artio is really wanting to be at the heart of that, especially in Oklahoma City. And how do we drive our creative industries? And how do we begin to partner with real estate in this? Because we feel like real estate is a perfect partner to work with. So the creative economy is projected to reach a global valuation of $985 billion by 2023, and could represent 10% of global GDP before 2030, according to according to the UN. So they also, most notably, the United Nations designated 2021 as the International Year of the Creative Economy for Sustainable Development. So they're basically saying that our creative economy can help reach sustainable development goals, and that is globally, that helps with water, infrastructure, hunger, poverty, human rights. So they're really saying that the creative economy can go deeper into finding solutions for challenges across the globe. So for those of you who are real estate agents or even artists who are wanting to give back to your communities in different ways, this is a really great starting point. It's a trailhead and a model for us to say in our own communities that the creative economy can give back for larger solutions. The UN is recognizing creative industries as drivers for sustainable development and in fostering economic resilience, and recommends it for culture, cultural heritage, and the creative sector in post-pandemic recovery strategies. So we have a lead here, we have a model, and we have guidance in how this creative economy can serve us. And lastly, it generates close to $920 billion annually in the United States, and $4.9 billion in Oklahoma alone. So again, imagine bridging this creative economy with real estate and what that can do. So I'm gonna let Helen introduce herself as my co-host, but I just wanted to kind of give some context to what we're going to talk about today. So thank you to Helen as our art advisor, and go ahead and share a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. You'll have to excuse me. I'm a little under the weather, so my voice is a little off right now, but please forgive me. I'm an independent curator, art advisor, fine art appraiser, and educator. I have a firm called Opper Fine Art based here in Oklahoma City, through which I do all of my various projects. I am the only modern and contemporary art appraiser in the state of Oklahoma that's affiliated with a professional appraisers organization. So I've been in the last year and a half really working hard on expanding my appraisal practice and getting the word out there. In terms of my curatorial practice, I run the Art Hall Gallery on 23rd and Walker, which is in between the Drake and Urban Tea House, for those of you familiar with uptown. I've been running that space for about 5 years and really developing a lot of relationships with other arts workers, as I like to call all of us, in the local community, working with other groups, artist organizations, that sort of thing, and also curating group shows of artists within the space too. Teach a class online for the Oklahoma City Community College, Art Appreciation. And what else do I do? I curated Art Now at Oklahoma Contemporary this last summer. And I do a lot of other special projects. So just kind of consulting of various kinds, working with Artio, which I'm really excited about. And another recent fun project that I got to work on was the Damian Hirst Wayne Coyne painting collaboration that's on loan to the Oklahoma City Convention Center. I was the official appraiser on that project, and I was able to give them the go ahead to restretch the whole canvas. So that was kind of exciting. So that's a little bit about me. I do a lot. I'm from Oklahoma. I studied art history and museum studies on either coast, and I've been back here since 2015. So super excited to be working with Artio and helping artists and businesses work together even more.
Well, thank you so much, Helen. As you all can see, we're very lucky to have Helen. I just want to get kind of a poll for those who are here right now. Who is here as an artist that is interested in working with real estate? You can just raise your hand or give a little wave. Okay, Sarah. Yes, I know Sarah. And then Daniel. And then who are real estate agents that are interested in boosting business with arts? Okay, so we have Ryan and David, and yeah, Daniel kind of goes across the whole spectrum. Cool. Okay, so we're going to speak to it all. And again, as you can see, we have such a talented art advisor, Helen. She is just a gem for us, and we're very lucky to have her. But basically, we're really promoting that art sells real estate and real estate sells art. And, you know, from our research, we've had, you know, we've researched different people that are already kind of working in this sphere, are starting to stage their properties with original art and even local art. And some of the feedback and the things that they've said is pairing furniture with art is just the same as pairing food with wine. It attracts people who are looking at real estate and it enhances what we do. Art makes a unit come alive and it represents how people live. And that's from Karen Manzor, and she is an executive vice president of development and marketing at a firm in, I don't have where she's out of, but she's working kind of in this area. Interior designer Chloe Pollock says, when you come into an empty space, it's very hard to envision what it can be. Art can really show a space, its size, height, and potential to buyers. Art makes a space feel more substantial. And then the last one, James Cox, who's a broker, says, for us, the art is absolutely helping us sell the real estate. When they can see how huge these enormous art pieces are, they can see how their art can look in the spaces as well. A lot of philanthropists come to see these units and these spaces. They are big art collectors and they throw big parties. They are blown away by these lofts and see the potential. So even starting off, we're learning that especially high profile clients are often art enthusiasts, or they may have a spouse that's an art enthusiast. So even just beginning to draw in some new clientele, art can attract high-end buyers. So we also look at that as an investment. Art can very much be an investment. There's a whole art world that Helen knows more about than I do, but that's why we have her as our advisor. But it can begin to attract, again, a new clientele and maybe even a higher end clientele. So art can also help network with new circles. And that's kind of a segue into why I wanted to have David and Daniel on today, because they are both artists as well. And then they're the real estate duo. So they have a history, both of them. They're going to introduce themselves, so I won't go into the depths of their experience, but I do want to tell you that I know them as artists, and I have seen them out in the community within their own art modalities. And I can very much say, just witnessing their work as artists, they have had access to new circles of people that they may not have had elsewhere. So a lot of people have seen them on stages and at like high volume places that they wouldn't have probably connected with elsewhere. So that really can, you don't have to be an artist to be able to connect with those types of circles, but even being an art supporter or art enthusiast and networking in with these artists can begin to open up circles. And we also want to eliminate the idea of a starving artist, because that is a stereotype that has, definitely been planted. But that's not really what we're speaking to. Artio likes to diversify the idea of an artist, because the artists we work with have many journeys and they look many different ways. And there may be artists that are working full-time jobs and doing their art on the side. There may be artists that work in several different modalities, and maybe that is their full-time job. It can look so many different ways, but tapping into artist circles, you're tapping into a lot of different demographics. You're tapping into a lot of different people that could potentially be clients for you as real estate agents, and bring you resources. So we also talk about, I think one of the quotes is, rich people like to hang around artists, which is very true. If we look at any Renaissance movements, that comes from places of privilege, right? So it's just a really great way to begin to network even with your higher end clients. And it gives a point of entry into some of, building a relationship with them. That is something that we look at with Artio, is we use that, how the arts is being used globally for repairing even communities. Part of that repairing process or that peace building process is that art is that neutral tool that people from all sides of the tracks or all different neighborhoods can come together on and start to have a conversation around. And it doesn't matter the politics, it doesn't matter what religion you are, it doesn't matter kind of what side you are of a certain issue. Art is that neutral tool. And so as a real estate agent, that can also be a neutral tool for you to start conversations with people. And from our experience, we have seen people light up when you talk about art, because somebody at some point has some sort of affiliation with art. And that, again, it could be their wife or their husband or their spouse. Oh my gosh, they just bought a new piece in our living room. Or, oh yeah, I'm a music artist as well. I play in my basement, but that, I love music. We've had several of those conversations with people. So it's just a really great, again, like a trailhead into conversations and relationships with new people. Art can add value to open houses and events. So that's something that, even us as event producers, we have seen, the programming of an event brings new people in. So when we program an event, and we might do, a singer-songwriter or an art show or something along those lines, we send out marketing material around that. And you already are bringing in the circles of people who know the people who are involved, right? So they might say, oh yeah, we know Jose Hernandez, who's one of our singer-songwriters locally. Or yeah, we've seen this person's art. It starts to bring in their circles and engage their circles, but also it gives programming around your real estate event. So it enhances it. It gives more for people to come see. Because we know, especially as, talking to real estate agents such as Daniel and David, that your open houses are for you to gain those contacts. So what can you provide to bring more people in? And arts programming is a perfect thing to do that, because again, it attracts all types of people from different types of walks and backgrounds. And then the last part is art actually can really enhance your branding and marketing. And so, when we're talking about your branding and marketing, as we're getting more competitive in the branding and marketing world, hands down. So, I mean, even if you're scrolling through social media or you're going through Facebook, even on our social platforms, you all know that, like, if your brand isn't really clear, concise, tight, then people scroll right over it. If it's too busy, if it's not aesthetically pleasing, because we have user-friendly platforms that people can start to develop their branding and their marketing on, it's just starting to get really competitive. So if you as an agent really aren't up to a certain level of your branding and marketing, then it can maybe limit you a little bit on whose eyes you're catching. So really, when you're adding art into your branding and marketing, just on a visual level, I mean, think about that. All of the things we're consuming nowadays through our social platforms and through billboards and magazines, like it's just, we're upping our game every single day. And creatives are behind that. Artists are behind that. So what better way to like engage artists for your branding and marketing, whether you're doing pamphlets, whether you're doing handouts, whether you're doing your logo, your website, your social media, partnering with artists can really give you that like next level marketing and branding. And then also, this is where I'm going to segue into talking to David and Daniel, because, and I'm going to brag on them a little bit. I've been personal friends with both of them, but they recently started a partnership, and Daniel, you were working solo before. David, you were working in a different area before, but Daniel has been an artist again in the community for a long time. And I remember when he broke into real estate, and Daniel has an artistic brand about him already. And it's because he's authentic. So I'm just going to tell you that right now. Like, he is one of the most authentic people you will meet. But it's because he is willing to be who he is, and he's willing to let his creative and his artistic side shine. He did not hide away his artistic side when he started real estate. And from that, I'm going to just make that connection that Daniel has been one of the top real estate producers that he can talk a little bit more about. But to me, that is not a coincidence that he has been authentic in his creative and his artistic brand, and people gravitate to him for that. And yes, of course, he is an amazing, nice person, you know what I mean? But people like the package that he's putting out. And, that catches people's eye. And like we just said, people like to be around and hang around artists. So for him as an artist, I think it's worked really well for him to be in the real estate area. And now that David has started to partner with him, I can say the same about David as well. Like, David is an artist. He has just like this creative spark to him that you just gravitate towards him. And because he's really authentic and he's not trying to hide away any piece of himself, he's really able to connect all the pieces together. Like, they both are great business people and then also creatives. So you don't have to be an artist to integrate arts into your branding, right? Like, they happen to be amazing, authentic artists and people are drawn to them for that. But you can also be this art supporter and arts enthusiast, and people will also pick up on that and gravitate into that because they're gravitating in towards that creative spirit, into that the willingness to just take those risks of putting yourself out there in a new way and being authentic. So you can even do that with being an arts supporter and then starting to integrate creative artistic solutions into your brand. So again, we just talked about that of like, what does your visuals look like? What is your social media? What is your website? What is your logo? Are you able to engage an artist to work with you on that? And then also any events that you're running, any staging that you're doing, that integrates the arts into your brand. You don't have to be an artist to do that. You can just work with artists to create an artist-friendly brand. So I want to kind of toss things over to David and Daniel and let you all just introduce yourself, and then just ask you a few basic questions from the conversation that we're having. So go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Well, yeah. So I'm Daniel. This is David.
Hi.
First of all, we want to say thanks for inviting us on here. We're huge fans of you, Jen. You're a rock star. And Helen, I haven't had the opportunity to meet you in person yet, but you seem like quite the rock star as well. So it's an honor to be here. You make me sound way cooler than I think I am. And then also my kids, I don't think I'm that cool, but they do love me. So that's good. But yeah, we're thrilled to be here. And yeah, I mean, I think you mentioned, we came from a background of arts. and then found our way into real estate. So yeah, do you have any questions right off the bat, or do you want me to just kind of dive into what my thoughts are as in regards to art and real estate?
Yeah, well, one of the main questions that I had is what potential benefits do you feel like the arts can bring to the real estate market? Helen and I felt like as we are doing this webinar, it's one thing for us kind of on the art side to promote this idea and this concept, but we really wanted to have people in the industry give feedback. Because we felt like it would be a more balanced webinar and experience for everybody if we could really hear from, your side of the industry and how this might look and how it might work. And I know we have personal conversations about even logistics of, well, how would this work or how would this work? And I think, we don't have to know all the answers to it, but we also talked about the dialogues and the conversations are important and just getting started. Like we have some solutions we can offer, but I think that there's a lot more to explore. So we wanted to hear from your end of being in the industry.
Yeah, so I think I'll kind of start off, and then David, hop in if you've got any additions to this. But I think the base premise here is that everything, especially a community as a whole, when you're consistently inspired by things, everybody succeeds at a higher level. And when you talk about bringing art into real estate, when I started this business, there was nobody else that kind of catered towards artists or artsy people. Historically, real estate is mostly guys in suits on billboards, kind of A-type personalities that are, kind of, and not everybody is like this. There's hundreds of real estate agents, thousands actually in Oklahoma City. Ryan, aren't you in real estate as well? Yeah, dude, I think David was showing me some of the video stuff you do. That stuff's awesome, man. So
thank you.
Yeah, how this game goes too, but
it really does help having the art on the space. I was just nodding along, and so seeing what you guys are up to, like, I'm excited.
Yeah, we got a cat here that's wants in on the action.
If you can hear my cat screaming, that's what's going on.
Yeah. So one of the things that I realized early on is my wife. So I came from a background of I was an independent musician, a singer songwriter, and then my wife is actually a painter and photographer by trade. And the way I found my way into real estate, it was when we decided to start a family. We'd been married for 5 years. Ran around, toured the country in a conversion van. We were broke as a joke, but it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And my original goal is that I was going to make all my money in music and then invest it into real estate. But when the idea of having a family came up, I said, whoa, I'm not quite making enough money in music here to invest it in real estate. I've always loved architecture. Really kind of my core is that life is too short not to live in a space that inspires you to be a better person, be more creative. And like you mentioned, Jen, realistically, everybody, whether you're actually an artist or you're an entrepreneur or you're a business person, it's all kind of art in its own way. You're constantly trying to create new things. Any sector, banking, real estate, all of that stuff has some sort of art where you're creating what what people want and then what you want to present to them. So life's too short not to be inspired by the space you live in. So I got into real estate. It's been about 9 or 10 years now. The other challenge I had at the time is I didn't feel like most real estate agents wanted to educate me. They just wanted to tell me what to do when we went to go buy our first house. And artists are like, whoa, don't tell us what to do, show us how to do it. It's kind of like feed a man a fish, So I think what we want to achieve is educating our clients. Also, some are amazing people. When I catered, my slogan was helping Oklahoma's most artistic and creative people buy, sell, and invest in real estate. And I will be honest with you, it was a little challenging in the beginning because the higher echelons of artists who make a lot of money is very minimal. I love artists, but realistically, a lot of these quote unquote we're trying to get away from this term, but starving artists weren't in a position to buy a house. So, but segueing into what you also said, cool people want to hang out with other cool people. And arts, you know, I mean, you look at any level of gentrification, normally, if you look at the stats of that, it was artists that created these areas. The plaza is a prime example. Part of the reason we moved into that area back in 2014 is because it was the only place we could afford to live. Now, we know that's changed now, but one thing that's really kind of honestly a little disheartening to me is that the artists who helped create that area, if they didn't buy then, they can't afford to live there now. So my goal is to help educate artists in saying, hey, if you could put yourself in a position, you know, beg, borrow, don't steal, don't cheat, but beg and borrow, these areas that you are, you know, creating these art areas, if you can invest into those areas, you should be the one that gets to benefit from these exorbitant, you know, increases in valuation. And some people got to do that and some people didn't. We were very fortunate that we found ourselves in that position. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, you got to be inspired by where you're living. So yeah, I'm a passionate guy, so I will just ramble on about a bunch of stuff. So you keep me in check, Jen. Tell me if that answered your question. I'm sure it probably did.
No,
way longer than it needed to be, but
I love that. And I think going back, you said something about educating your clients, and I wanted to just make a note of that, especially as, you know, this next generation's coming up behind us and buying homes. And we've done a lot of research even on age gaps that the generations kind of, I'm 40, so I'm proud of that. I'm happy about that. I'll note my age, but generations behind us, they want more of this education process and more of a coaching process rather than just an authoritative process. So I think that really goes a long way for this next generation that's buying homes and investing. And then also, you know, allowing the arts to kind of be that tool, because a lot of, again, this generation, they have grown up with, you know, culture and being connected through all of these platforms that, you know, when I was younger, we didn't have, you know. So again, I'm aging myself, but it's like, you know, my sister and I are 10 years apart, and she grew up on the computer, on, you know, devices, and it's like that's just going to continue. So these next generations are used to art, culture, connection, you know, and so this is just another way to like cater to them and to speak to them and speak their language. So I wanted to kind of comment on that. And I love, again, when you're consistently inspired. You were just talking about that, Daniel. That was a really great quote. Then we all really can flourish, and we all did. So, well, good. Is there anything else that you all want to kind of add in before we?
I was going to say, Daniel mentioned that he's been focusing on this creative class of people, and how important it is your home is a place that you feel inspired. So for a lot of clients that we work with, it's whether or not they're a musician or an artist, they need a space that gives them the room to be creative and have new ideas. And so I think that it's really important when you first look at someplace to look at the lighting and the relationship between the walls and the rooms, and whether or not what you do the most with your spare time, will that work in this environment? Maybe also for an art collector, are these walls big enough to display all the art that I have? Is this light going to interfere with that? Or is the lighting going to interfere with that? So I think Daniel and I, what we try to focus on is the advice that we can give to people in those instances. Is this a room, or is this a space where you can make music or do art? Or is there a chance to build on to that somewhere?
Is it a zero lot line and your neighbor's going to call the cops every time?
Yeah, sure. I mean, definitely.
You know,
am I going to make
there.
too much noise, or whatever it is? But it's really important for us, for our clients, to feel inspired and to make that into the home, which is most often a workspace these days.
True.
And it's really challenging to have someone who's been through it like we have, because we're technically in my studio music space right now where my DJ equipment's over here and all my records are beneath us. And then Daniel's place is the same way. So you've really got to be careful and make sure you don't get cornered into a situation where you can't be creative.
Yeah.
I love that, because I think it really brings us full circle to kind of our original research of the creative economy, right? And that our creative workers and our creative industries are a really big business. And so a lot of these creative workers are working out of their houses, especially if they're starting a new business. So when going into our second point, if you're staging with local artists and local art, and you're not just running over to Michael's or Hobby Lobby, no offense to Michael's or Hobby Lobby, but and just kind of grabbing whatever's there, that really original or even local art can give that vision for your buyers of, if I'm running my creative business out of this space, like what, feeling inspired by your staging as well. And then it goes on and on for people who may not be, doing a creative business out of the space, but are art enthusiasts or even art investors.
Sure.
So it just goes a long way.
And that doesn't have to be someone at the high side of a financial situation. Collecting art, like all this stuff, is pretty cheap, I can tell you. But it's very important for me to express that and make me feel comfortable in my own home. And so you really have to be paying attention to what's going on in the environment when you first see someplace.
Absolutely. And it goes back into one of our dreams for a arts and real estate partnership is to stage homes with local art, and then a buyer comes in and they want to buy that piece with their home, right?
Yeah.
That's a dream for us, like, to facilitate, because that provides jobs for our artists and provides new places and spaces for them to show their art, and then turning back around into our creative economy that fuels directly into it. So that is obviously one of our goals. Really speaking logistically, especially to Daniel and David, we understand that not every house it's going to be feasible to stage with local artists. We totally get that, and that's not something that that's not even our ask of when we're saying, hey, partner up with artists, partner up with creative workers. But what we are saying is, even if you have a couple homes, or if you have a couple events, even if that's every 6 months, every 9 months, once a year, that can go a long way. Because even if we imagine every real estate agent doing something even once a year with artists, that just is such a ripple effect that would affect our communities and our creative economy in a large way. So, when we're talking to real estate agents, we're not saying, hey, you're supposed to stage with every house, because we get it. The market's hot. You don't even necessarily have to do that at this point. But, again, how can the arts really enhance maybe events that you have? How can they enhance branding and marketing that you have? And so that's where we're really inserting Artio as a solution for that. Is we are able to curate that for you. What artists do you need? What do you want to work on? Do you want to work on branding and marketing? Do you want to work on events? Like, we are able to cover all of that. We've really positioned ourselves as these creative concierges that can come in and say, what do you need? We can provide that for you on a creative and artistic level. So with that said, that's, really how we are proposing to work with real estate agents and real estate firms. We have developed this, it's called an Artist Ally Badge program, and it starts to identify businesses or service providers that are open to working with artists and that are partnering with artists. And, it's a really easy, we just have a little registration process on our website, super easy. There's no buy-in for the business or the agent. It's just a $10 material fee, because we like to print our badges through Lettering Express, who is some of our local partners, and then we will deliver that to you. So that's the only thing that we do as part of our badge program, but there's no long-term buy-in for any business. It's just helping recognize businesses or agents that are open to working with artists, who are open to collaborating in the creative economy, and opens up a new network of people. So we also are developing our creative resource directory that, if you're a badge member, we put you in there. So it's just a new way to market you as well. And then from there, we have business membership. So if you're like, I want to get more involved and I want some of these creative curation services you're talking about, we start our business memberships at like $12.99 a month. It's super feasible. It gives you a call monthly with us. Of we call you. You don't even have to worry about an outgoing call. Like we do that outbound call. And we say, what do you need? How can we help you? We manage all of your artist contacts for you. So Sarah, I know you're one of the artists that we've connected with. Sarah got on our website. She registered in our artist directory, and we get to vet all of those incoming artists, and we say, oh, this would be a perfect fit for you. This is a perfect fit for this space. So we manage those contacts for our artist business, or our business membership members. If that's very redundant, our business members. That's a service we offer. And then we're able to pair you with the right artist. And then the last thing we offer is professional development resources. So we have a team of professionals across legal, financial, mental health, branding and marketing, that we have a menu for you that you can go, you know what, I really need this person in developing my business, or I need this person to come in and talk to my team. It just gives businesses a kind of a menu of resources that we've already vetted, and that we have said, these people know their stuff. They can come in and do a workshop with you or your team, and they're gonna kill it. They're awesome at it. So that's just the start of our business memberships and what we're proposing to help our real estate agents, our real estate firms. We move up from there into social media support. So we provide even social media assets highlighting how you are partnering with artists. So it's silly for us to say, hey, you need to do all this and then not offer support in that, because that's what we are really finding. We're trying to get businesses and agents and firms to partner with artists, but we also recognize we don't want to add more to your plates, right? Like we're not asking you to manage more, to curate more, to take on more. So we're able to do that for you, and we're able to highlight your partnerships through your social media. We give a longer calls as you kind of keep moving up that social media ladder. We offer marketing tables at our mixers. We have, right now we've been running monthly mixers, but several a year that you get to pick from, that you can bring a table out to, set up your marketing materials, speak to our audiences. So we've just set up some solutions for our agents and for our firms of how you can get more involved. And we're really excited to kind of unveil all of this and how this partnership really logistically works. And Daniel and David were really helpful in that. If they said, how will this work and what does this look like? But we want to be that solution. So
if I may, I didn't want to cut you off by any means, but I wanted to mention, you talked about how we're in a very challenging market right now, and I kind of thrive on the creative side of things. And the biggest kick for me is that I love open houses, and those are phenomenal opportunities to have live musicians or have people come through and show their art. It's an easy way to logistically be able to plan some of that stuff out. And the fact is right now that the homes aren't staying on the market. You can't have an open house unless it's a high-end, well overpriced house. And even still, the logistics are a little challenging. The point I wanted to make, though, is what I'm really thrilled about is if anybody keeps up with real estate, these are cyclical markets. We're not always going to be in this position to where we don't have the opportunity to do open houses or throw some parties at these properties. So the fact that we're having these conversations now is going to put us in a great position to be prepared when these markets kind of open back up. Because I love, and I've had some success and experiences in the past with having people come play in an open house or hang some cool art in the space. And again, in the direct relation, when clients come in and they don't seem like they're creative, they want to come into a space and be like, whoa, somebody freaking awesome lived here. And cool people want to live where other cool people are moving from. So I'm thrilled about the future of being able to mesh, bringing these artists in. On the higher end level, if you've got these $1 million houses that are vacant, that makes it a little easier. But you have to remember, most of the people still live in these properties, so you got to work with some of those logistics. But just the mere fact that you're bringing this up now is going to put people leaps and bounds kind of ahead of the curve and being able to help curate all this stuff, that's what you're good at. So congrats on that.
Well, thank you. And I really appreciate, Daniel, both you and David, as, we sat down for lunch a few weeks ago, and you really helped us kind of work through some of these, again, logistical challenges of, it is a hot market and we might not be doing open houses right now. But it is just like, how can we serve as tools and resources? And again, as you heard, Helen's experience, Helen can come in, at a drop of a hat and really know kind of where to place and what to do in what spaces. And I definitely want to add, and this is something that is at the heart of our brand and our business, but also Helen's work, is the diversity and inclusion component of Helen works with a diverse group of artists. And to us, that's really, really important, especially when we curate even events or staging, that we work with lots of different artists with lots of different backgrounds. And so that's part of that branding that can also roll into you as an agent or as a firm. And there's a lot of companies right now, whether firms or agents or if you're an entrepreneur, that are trying to find solutions to integrating diversity and inclusion into your business. And it's conversations I've had with a lot of different companies. I've gone through my certification of DEI in the workplace of, we can talk about this stuff all day long, but how do we actually start to integrate it? How do we start to put boots on the ground and be more diverse and inclusive and really put our money where our mouth is on that? So that's something that's really important to us and part of Helen's work already, part of our work already, that we're able to extend to any of our partners that we're working with. And so I definitely want to note that, because it's important, especially in real estate. I think it's really, really important as well, because it's easy to pigeonhole into one demographic or one neighborhood. And it's like, how do we diversify that? So I want to open the floor as we're kind of approaching the end of our hour. But again, to any other feedback from David, Daniel, and then the rest of our participants today, I'd love to kind of have an open forum.
So Helen, is any of this art worth anything? Because I'm going to steal it from David's house if it is.
I appraise it as $1 million.
Wow.
I'm taking it all.
Okay.
I'm taking it all.
Actually, you know what? Don't tell anyone, but you could hold me to that number. But don't. So appraisers aren't.
I found this painting of Marilyn Monroe at the flea market on what's the one thing on 36th Street? I forget what it's called. It only happens like once a month, but I found it for like $2.
It's got to be worth more than that.
I think it's appreciated in value.
Well, yeah. If any of you guys have any questions for us, we'd be happy to answer them. So,
well, I'm going to pose a question to Helen and Jen. Is there a chance that we could do a mixer of specifically geared towards artists and real estate agents? Someone like Ryan might be interested in attending and meeting other artists, either to introduce them to their clients or maybe do open houses or something like that.
Absolutely. And
sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, we're always open to partnerships, and especially with you two, we'll take you up on anything. So
cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention too to Ryan, one of the things that I've got to do in the past, but I haven't done so much of it. Obviously, the last 2 years have been chaos. So, I've been living under a rock, just holed up with my family. But one of the things that I'm really passionate about and have been from the beginning is helping guide artists in regards to the real estate market. Because a lot of times people are like, look, I work at Chili's and I play in a band on the weekend. I'm never going to own a house. And that's not necessarily the case.
Right.
A lot of people just don't have access to the information. Mm-hmm. And it seems like such a daunting task. So one of the things that we might see if we can parlay that mixer into is just telling people like, look, here's the process. A lot of times we coach our clients and say, look, ask us the question and we'll tell you. The first place to start is normally on the financial side. But if you've got good third-party vendors, like a lot of the lenders that I work with are also artists in the past that have made their way into this business. But a good person in that situation could tell you, hey, look, if you're not financially here now, we can kind of coach you for the next 6 months to a year to help you find yourself in that position, whether it's working on your credit score. But I think as an artist, especially for me, it kind of seemed unattainable. I don't know why. And I think it's getting more unattainable with property prices increasing. But I would be really thrilled to do something like that. If artists were interested in saying, hey, well, we don't think we can do this, but is it a possibility? I think it'd be really cool to kind of help them answer some of those questions and find themselves in the position where maybe not now you can buy a house, but if it's something you want to do, we're not going anywhere. So we're going to be around in 2 years and 5 years and 10 years. I mean, I plan on being in this business for as long as it will have me. So I'm fine with helping these people figure out that process to find themselves in the position of home ownership, even if it's not now. So
yeah, I love the idea and working with, right. I mean, I'm basically working with my peers and then maybe ones that are looking to buy maybe like their second home, like 5-10 years after their first one. And what I'm finding is just by going through, I mean, the contract process, we're talking about like maybe 10 pages, is just no one sat down with them and just explained the process, or right before, like, hey, let me show you a home. And then while we're there, like, okay, let me work up a estimated, closing cost fees. And now they have something tangible to work to.
It's like someone's like, if I want to start a business, they're like, yeah, that's way too much. I can't even imagine. I don't know where to start. So just putting people in the position to openly feel comfortable about having those conversations and asks. I think a lot of times too, especially in Oklahoma, we come from a state where we're very conservative, and the motto is kind of stay humble, be humble. So a lot of people are like, well, I should probably already know how to buy a house. And so maybe they're a little, they feel like they're behind the curve because they don't, which is not the case at all. That's a total myth. If you've never bought a house, you should know how to buy a house. I mean, the reality of it. So ask the questions. That's the way you start, Same thing with an artist. When I wanted to write songs, I picked up a guitar and started playing single notes. It's a process. So I think we get a lot of pride out of educating our peers and clients. Hey, look, it's not, if you can't buy a house now, there's nothing wrong with you.
No.
Everybody is in that position at one point in their life. But we very much educating people on the fact of, hey, if you could do that. And also I could go into this whole other spiel about the financial aspects and benefits of being an artist. And if you're the one that gets to make these ridiculous amounts of equity, you find yourself in the position to where, hey, I can finance my own record by refinancing my house, or I can open an art boutique, or I can finally buy all those painting supplies and rent that studio space. So that's another direct correlation between real estate and art, that if you can kind of buy outside of the bubble and wait for that gentrification to come to you, there is some risk involved there, but that's how you can set yourself up for in the next 5 to 10 years, where you're like, holy cow, I got a lot of equity in this thing, more money than I ever expected to have, or more money than I probably ever made from my art, that could really give you a platform to do some really incredible things. So I love that stuff. That's my favorite thing. When I've got artists that I help buy a house, I believe Kyle and Lindsay Flowers, I know you know Lindsay real well. I got to help them buy their place. It's an amazing house. It's an inspiring spot. They got a giant backyard for parties and all that stuff. And I'm pretty sure they probably got some equity in that thing. So I'm thrilled when clients get to come back to me and say, dude, we killed it. We're going to sell this house. We get to make some money and fund that next chapter. So yeah, that gets me out of bed in the morning, to be honest with you. That's what excites me about this business. So.
Well, and I like that you talk about that education piece, because you all, I mean, even here as agents, whether it's between David and Daniel and Ryan, and like, you all are resources for our community, right? And that's like part of our curation and our creative concierge services is to just be able to provide to, give people direct links to you all. So I want to make sure that you all put your information in the chat of how people can get in touch with you and also share here. But I also want to highlight Valona Michael, who is here with us. She is our marketing and PR person that we work with, and she's also part of our business membership group of having a direct connection to somebody who kind of knows the social media and the marketing, and she's putting together a lot of great even curriculum for people that are wanting to go further with their branding and marketing. So that's something I definitely want to mention, because I was really promoting how the arts can support branding and marketing, and Valona is at the heart of that. She works with a ton of artists. She's worked with a ton of art districts and different companies that are learning how to integrate the arts into their branding, marketing, into their programming, into their events. So I just wanted to give you a little shout out, Valona, and let people know you're also a resource and how it all ties in.
Oh, Jen, you're so sweet for the shout out. Nice to meet you guys. And yeah, throughout the whole conversation, I'm just sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, social media content, PR. I'm just like, oh my gosh, collaborations. How do we get this out there? Mm-hmm. Everything involves marketing. I mean, anything anyone does, if no one knows about it, it's not going to work. And there's so many creative, innovative ways to get that to happen that I don't feel like people kind of really dive into. And I love working with artists because you guys are super creative. And so it helps kind of mold my ideas where I'm like, okay, I think really crazy outside of the box ideas. And you guys just help make it happen. So I love it. So I'm just happy to be on here listening. I love these conversations.
Well, thank you. And again, if we're promoting, using the arts as a branding marketing tool, Valona is the person who's able to really push that stuff out. And it's just part of the pipeline, right? It all kind of weaves together. So is there any other kind of comments or feedback or questions that we can address? We have about 5 minutes as we're wrapping up. Make sure, Helen.
Well, I just wanted to say, excuse me, thanks to Daniel and David for giving their input, because I feel like I'm learning a lot. I feel like the initial purpose of this endeavor was to kind of help real estate folks figure out how to work with artists. But what I'm hearing is that like the other direction is also really needed, like how real estate agents can help artists. And I think this is just a perfect example of what Artio is trying to do. Like we're learning in this process too. So like I work with artists of all kinds. I've worked with high school artists. I've worked with senior artists. I've worked with artists with disabilities. I've worked with a huge range of types of artists. And I had never once thought about the fact that artists and creative types could use the sort of education around real estate. Like, I don't know anything about buying a house. I live in the house that I grew up in as a child and am getting the house through my family. So like, I've never had to deal with homeowning aspects, and I'm in the creative industry. And I think, sure as heck, a lot of artists would really appreciate getting that sort of info, and some sort of networking mixer would be like the perfect environment for going both ways of that education circle. So cool.
Bringing in like financial advisors, mortgage lenders, title companies. I mean, it goes both ways. I mean, it can be business for both sides. Someone buys art, the other one, ends up meeting a financial advisor that helps them buy a house. And so we all play to our strengths, and there's only so many hours in the day, so might as well help each other in the process.
I would definitely think credit counseling would be a big thing for a lot of those people. Just simply getting their credit score up to the point where they can go to a bank and get a loan or something like that.
Yeah, and a lot of people feel like they're at a disadvantage, or maybe they screwed up at some point because, my credit's shot. It's not as out of reach as a lot of artists, especially artists that I come across, think it is. And it's a shame to me. And that's why we got to have these conversations to help these people realize, like, look, you didn't do anything wrong. The rest of the country is in this position. Yeah. But I am incredibly passionate about the fact, like you were mentioning, Helen, is that being able to educate these artists is, in my opinion, the number one way for you to not be a what was the term we were using? A broke artist or a starving artist? And to be 100% honest with you guys, I should be a starving artist, you know? And the only reason that I'm not is because I found myself in the position to buy a house that has put me in the position to refinance that, support other artists, support some of my wife's artistic hobbies. And that's all been within the last 10 years. So it's feasible. You could do it. And incredibly, what's really cool too is, here's one thing I'd like to mention real quick, but I always encourage everybody that I meet, especially artists, via the laws in Oklahoma, I cannot pay a referral fee to anybody who sends me a client unless they are a licensed agent. So a lot of times I'll tell artists, I'll say, look, if you want to take some time and get your real estate license, whether you plan on practicing it at all, if you have your license, I can send you, legally, I can pay you a referral fee. And that referral fee is often 20 to 25% of a transaction amount, which could be an incredible paycheck for artists who are, all they're doing is running around hanging out with people. And they say, hey, my friend wants to buy a house. Do you have a license? I would be more than willing and happy to give you a 20% referral fee. So that's one thing that I tell everybody, get your real estate license for the bare minimum you can get paid to refer people to agents who are, actively in the business. But there's a lot of different variables in this business that can really help creative types, whether on the financial side, the inspiration side. I don't know. I like it. It's fun. I'm a fan.
Well, and to your point, and kind of what the conversation is, that's something we're really trying to do as we're developing professional development, mental health, and branding and marketing support for our business partners. We're also doing that for our artists. So we've developed platforms on both ends. We have Artio's Den, which you can access just through www.artios, ARTIOS, den.com. And that's a community platform for artists to do artist-to-artist collaboration calls, professional development tips. We put open calls, especially in the Oklahoma City community. So there's some work and job opportunities there that we post, and we post regularly every week. So that's another piece of our work and connecting people, is we also want to give those resources to artists and businesses alike. And as we're connecting the two, then we're extending those networks to each other. So just as we're on the call today, now we know these are the people, if you're looking to buy a house here, we have David, Daniel, and Ryan all here ready to help support you, So we're continuously making connections with other businesses to help artists gain resources, whether that's financial, professional development, home buying, all of the above, because I am also an artist. I think a lot of us here are. And so it is daunting as you're, starting maybe your small business, or you are trying to, be a performer, or whatever that is, to do some of the back end stuff. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of thought. And so it's nice just to have those contacts on hand. So we're hoping to provide that. So you can find all of our platforms and all of our opportunities just to plug in through our www.artioservices.com. That's our main website. There's a spot for businesses. There's a spot for artists. So either one, you can click on the tab and it just takes you step by step of how you can get more involved. Again, if you're an artist, just like Sarah's done, she's registered in our database. I know about Sarah. I know her work. I know, how to get a hold of her. So then I get to say, hey, she's a perfect fit for you, and vice versa. Businesses were able to really market to our artists and say, this is, these are services that are valuable. So we're just trying to bridge that gap, and we've created online platforms to do that. So I'm excited to share about those. And then everybody's kind of typed in the chat box, but if everybody just wants to go around quickly and say how, for your website, social media, how to get a hold of everybody.
You can find us on Facebook, just search Walcher Chitwood Real Estate, and then the same thing goes for Instagram.
Very cool. And I think Helen, you introduced your services. Ryan?
Yeah. I have a website, and then I don't have a Facebook business page, but I do have an Instagram business page, Opera Fine Art.
And Brian and Sarah, I would kind of want to hear where you're at as well.
Well, sure. I'd be happy to take just a quick minute and introduce myself if we have time for that.
Mhm. Go for it.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for asking. I'm Sarah Atlee. I'm in Oklahoma City. I'm from Oklahoma originally, but I haven't always lived here. I've been a professional artist for 25 years. My current medium, I used to be a painter. Now I'm a quilter. That kind of made that transition a couple of years ago. I am an improvisational quilter, which basically means that I don't use patterns, that the design of the quilt evolves as I go along. It's a wonderfully liberating and exciting process. You can find me, I put my email address and web address in the chat. I'm also on the socials. I'm really easy to find online. Like, it's not hard. So please feel free to look me up. And I want to say something about why quilts are a perfect match for real estate settings, because a quilt is the centerpiece of a bed, and the bed is the centerpiece of the bedroom. And for a lot of people, that's the centerpiece of the home. Also, a quilt is something that we are used to experiencing with our body, not just with our eyes or our ears. Everybody knows what a quilt feels like. Everybody knows what it's like to be sheltered, nurtured, to experience it physically. And basically, a quilt says that you're home. So, and that's something that I really, really love about them. So, yeah, and if anybody has any questions for me, please feel free to get in touch. I'm easy to find, like I said.
Well,
And
Amazing. That's awesome.
I'd like to add to that too, is Sarah's quilts also look really cool on walls, but these are the really simple ways, if you're showing a home and you do have it staged, that you can throw a quilt over a couch, you can throw it on a bed, you can throw it on a wall. And buyers love when there's those touches, right? That's why you all real estate agents do the cookies, and that, it's like, if we're bringing in even really simple tools like for your houses, Sarah is a great example of that. So I just want to point that out. And then Brian, you're general contractor carpenter, which is great to know about you.
Sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time working in the Plaza area, Paseo area for about 10, 15 years. Help open up Saints when they first opened, a couple other places, a lot of the Red Cup, some other places that you guys know. Yeah. I'm now moved out to the Choctaw area, and I'm trying to establish a footprint out here. Enjoy be able to see the skylight and all that stuff, or the night sky. I mean,
yeah.
I spent last year kind of working more on being able to do furniture and stuff like that. Worked with William Graber and Edmund, kind of hone some furniture skills. And I'm about to start focusing more on general contracting. I kind of got tired of seeing, I don't know, the average house, like lavatories and cabinets that were very mainstream.
Sure.
So I'm trying to start focusing on doing houses that have a little bit different touches as far as that aesthetic is concerned. And obviously interested in learning more about marketing and all that kind of stuff, and how to, how to build a house that can be a little bit more open for artists or people that want to present art, since it's obviously a very big deal. And sometimes, I don't know, it doesn't seem like the houses are planned out to be able to do that. And I think Dan mentioned that earlier.
Brian, I love your end of it. Like, you've been so quiet during this whole call, and then you come out with this like really great information of just a totally different side of what we're talking about, and so important because even as real estate agents, like knowing contractors like you who are able to kind of transform a home in a way that is more suitable for the buyer, and then also how you already have worked even in furniture. That's another thing we would love to see eventually, local furniture creators that are staging homes with that, so thank you for sharing. That's very cool. I like hearing.
Thank you guys for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for joining today. Well, we got to talk about Bologna, and then Ryan, have you been able to put your information also in the?
Yes, I put my information in there, phone number and email, and then it's at Ryan Rudbach, like Shinerbach, all across the social medias. more active on Instagram and then Facebook, and then I just push everything to Twitter. So I don't.
That's great.
So
Well, thank you all. And you can find us at We Are Artio is our social media handle. That's on Facebook and Instagram. And it's just WEARE and then ARTIO. So please make sure to connect with us through our social platforms, through our website, and then we get to intertwine all of our partners. If you are a business or an artist and you haven't signed up for just kind of our directories, please do that. Again, through our site, artioservices.com, because even such as Brian or Sarah or our real estate agents, like we want to make sure we are helping you all cross promote, cross network. And the best way to do that is just get your information to us through those registration pages. If you're a business and you have not signed up for our Artist Ally Badge program, that again is a great way to start to network with new circles, start to identify yourselves as artist-friendly businesses. And then as we've seen today, it just continues on from there. So thank you all for joining this call, and we look forward to the mixer. So keep updated on all of our social media platforms to find out about that. And we're just going to keep running with this concept and excited about the relationships forged. Well, thanks you so much. And everybody have a
awesome.
good afternoon.
awesome.
All right. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye, everyone.